Okay. My presentation today is based somewhat, well, I would say it was underscored by that video last night. Some didn't see the video. It was about the Red Sea, the miracle of the Red Sea. And it is what underscores it for me are the naysayers. We are wall to wall with naysayers. And I can't lay the blame at Charles Darwin, because his dissertations on what he thought were merely just a reproduction of what's been going on for a long, long time. Evolutionary concepts are not new to modern man at all. So the title to my talk is Who Are We Dealing With? Just who are we dealing with? Moses, excuse me, and the Israelites had a better first-hand idea who they were dealing with. When he came down on Mount Sinai, our Creator, they were scared to death. They said, we don't want to hear. Moses, you hear him, then you tell us. And our Creator said to Moses, they do well. They do well. But they saw just a glimpse or a little microcosm of his power. We haven't. But we have seen the workings of his miracles sitting right here. Okay. And that is wonderful. So I want to open up with who are we dealing with? Who is this being that we put our trust in, that we believe in, where our faith lies? Now, believe me, brethren, that faith is going to get tested. We're in the green right now. But when things dry up, so to speak, and the green is no longer green, we're going to be standing alone. Like our Redeemer said to the apostles, you're all going to leave me alone. But I won't be alone. We won't be alone. We have to understand that. Genesis chapter 1, starting in verse 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So we have an idea right off the bat that this being that we do not see, because all things that we see, touch, and feel have been created by that which we do not see. And the earth was without form and void, and the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. Okay? We're talking here about spirit. Spirit is what we do not see. And this is the next thing. We're talking about the power and the glory and the capability. And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light. And he saw that light was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And then going down to verse 6, and Elohim said again, let there be a firmament in the midst of the sky. And you can read verse 7. And Elohim called the firmament heaven. And verse 9, and Elohim said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together. So you get the idea here. He's speaking these things into being. And Elohim called the dry land, earth. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass. And it did. And in the evening and the morning of the third day, and Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament. So he created the sun, the moon, the stars, the greater by day and the lesser by night. He made two great lights in the sky. And you can read on again. And in the evening and the morning were the fourth day, verse 19. And Elohim said, let the waters be separated. Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures, which is where we get a lot of our food from, and the fowl, that they may fly above the earth. in the open firmament of the heavens. And God, Elohim, created the whales, and he blessed these creatures. And in the evening, I said, let's see. Verse 26. Verse 26. That brings all of this to you and I. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish in the sea and over the fowl of the earth. Verse 27. And Elohim created man in his own image. Now that word own is in the italics in mine. It is added in for continuity of the English language. And Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he them. Interesting. We look like him. So if you want to know what he looks like us. If one is true, if A is true, A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A and C are the same. So if he made us in his image and likeness, then we look like him, then he looks like us. He doesn't have 7 arms, 5 heads. He's not a calf. He's not a tree. And I'm sure you get the point. And Elohim blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish, the sea, the fowl, so on and so forth. You can read that whole whole chapter there and gain some more, or glean some more. Psalms chapter 8. I'm going to read the whole thing. It's not a very long psalm. And Jim Ween just got done singing about this, starting in verse 1. O Yah, our Elohim, or O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set thy glory above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. Verse 3. When I consider the heavens and the works of thy fingers, the moon, the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou even visitest him? For thou hast made him little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Thou hast made him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet. All sheep, oxen, yea, the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, whatsoever passes through the path of the sea. O Yah, our Elohim, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. How excellent indeed it is. Now, going back to verse 3. When I consider thy heavens and the works of thy fingers, the moon, the stars, that thou hast ordained, verse 4, what is man that thou art even mindful of him? Does that bring anything else into memory? Our Creator said, Scriptures tell us, all the nations of the earth combined together, what do they amount to? A drop in the bucket. And the next verse after that says, yes, less than nothing. All the nations amount to less than nothing. And what is man that you are even mindful of him? But creation, as we see it and know it, was made for man. Now, let's go back to Genesis 4. I want to get to verses 8 through 10. I'll start in verse 6. And Yah said unto Cain, now Cain has already killed his brother. Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? And he goes on to say, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou does not well, this is what lies at the door. Sin, it lies at the door. And unto thee is its desire. The desire, sin is at the door. Its desire is for you. And we, man, should rule over it. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, and slew his brother. And Yah said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? It's kind of a wise guy answer. Am I supposed to know where he is? Of course he knew where he is. He killed him. And he said, what hast thou done? Now our Redeemer, our Creator, when he responded to Cain, he didn't come back with a snarly answer. He says, what hast thou done? What have you done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth out from me from the ground. And thou art cursed from the earth. My point, brethren, is we don't get away with anything. He knows what we're thinking. When he chose a new king after Saul failed the test, he said that we're going to go to Jesse's house and we're going to find a king. So Samuel goes with him. Samuel sees David's oldest son. He was probably tall, dark, and handsome, kingly looking. So Samuel says in his mind and his heart, probably even out loud maybe, this is the one. And our Creator said, no, Samuel, you look on the outside, superficial. We tend to be superficial. I don't like the way that guy looks. I don't think she looks too good. I have had people say that, well, I don't like that person. Well, for what reason? I just don't like the way they look. We are superficial. We tend to be that way. But our Creator, he didn't rebuke Samuel. He corrected Samuel. He said, wait a minute, Samuel. He didn't say, wait a minute. He said, Samuel, you look on the outside. I look on the heart. I look on the heart. And that's what he wants to see. We're like an open book. We can't snooker him in any way, shape, or form. We can lie to ourselves, and sometimes we can be pretty good liars to ourselves. We get to believe our own lies. Not him. He knows who we are. And then let's turn to Job chapter 40. Now, I'm bringing this all up so that we have an idea, maybe a thumbnail sketch of who we're dealing with. But Job chapter 40, verses 1 and 2. Now, this is when Job was, if I could use the word, justifying himself. And our Creator says, do you know all these things? Do you know how the earth is fashioned, or anchored, should I say? The foundations of it, were you there when I laid it? And after our Creator was talking to Job, now he loved Job, because he said to Satan, have you seen my servant Job? He's a just man. He evades or stays away from sin. But nevertheless, Job had some problems. Starting in verse 1, chapter 40, our Creator says to Job, and he answered Job and said, "Shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth Elohim, let him answer it." Who, in other words, the question is, who is going to contend with our Creator? Now, in this movie last night, I'm going to pick on the naysayers. They're talking about the Red Sea, the parting of the Red Sea. Now, we here understand that he created the heavens and the earth and everything in it, the hair on our head, the way our body works, molecules, okay, subatomic particles, even the dirt we're made from, the air we breathe. So, and Paul speaks about people like this gentleman that was on the presentation movie last night. It's impossible. It's just not possible for this great wind to part the sea. It would blow everybody away. Okay. So, and then those who would say, "Where is God? Show him to me." Really? But anyway, Job answered our Creator after our Creator had presented all these things to him. This also underscores his patience with us. And Job answered our Creator and said, "Behold, I am vile." That word vile means just absolutely the pits. I'm disgusting. "What shall I answer thee? I will lay my hand upon my mouth." Now, I have a question for everyone here. We may get different answers. But what is our Creator's greatest attribute? What would one say is the greatest attribute of our Creator? That's the reason why we're here. Exactly. The greatest attribute of our Creator is love. He is love. That's why we're still here. His patience, His mercy, His kindness. Now, our Creator and His Son was His Word made flesh, and He came and dwelt among us. I and my Father are one. And He gave His Son, and His Son willingly accepted. So let's turn to Revelations 13, verse 8. Now we're all over the scriptures, which is okay. This is somewhat of a test in how quick you can get from Genesis to the middle of the Bible, to the end of the Bible, and then back to the first third. Revelations chapter 13 and verse 8. Now we're talking about another what I would call in man's mind and heart, another deity. Okay, although he's no deity at all. All right, let's pick it up in verse 4, because jumping into verse 8 may leave more questions than not. Verse 4, and they worshipped the dragons which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And that is going to be and is a question. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto them to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell on the heavens. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over the kindreds and tongues of the nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the Lamb's or the life, not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Written in the Lamb's book of life. Are we written there? It's a good question. And we certainly pray that we are. But it goes beyond that, brethren. We have to know in our hearts and minds, and just not knowing, we have to believe it to our core that we are. We've been bought with a very high price. And the fact that we do not physically see our Creator, but we know He's there. We feel Him in us. We see the results of His mercies and kindnesses. And we better take heed and understand, because the adversary is extremely cunning. He knows how to push your buttons. He knows how to bring about doubt, like with you and your wife. There's not much we can do. Man. But we're talking about, man, when they say that, man is so limited. Like this gentleman here on the movie last night. His knowledge, they're knowledgeable people. They have PhDs. They studied this stuff for 2 or 3 decades. But that does not give them the understanding and the truth. You can study a subject. You can have knowledge, tremendous knowledge, in all the wrong things. But you're still knowledgeable. You can have a PhD in the wrong thing, in nonsense. Peter, 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 18 through 20. Now, this is getting back to the greatest, the greatest attribute of our Creator. He is love. And Peter underscores this. For as in verse 18, 1 Peter 1, verse 18, for as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver or gold, from your vain conversations, there we are again. We can be well schooled and well educated in vain things, received by traditions from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Messiah, as of a lamb without blemish, without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest or revealed in these latter times for you. Well, what's this saying? He knew ahead of time. He knew ahead of time what this whole lot was going to be like. So his son, the plan was to redeem this whole lot, or at least offer it. Acts chapter 2, 22 through 24. Now, this is Elohim, our Creator. What is the best way or the way to tell whether the spirit within a person is of Elohim or is of Satan? Which way how do we do that? Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Messiah of Nazareth, a man approved of Elohim among you by miracles and wonders and signs which Elohim did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves know, him being delivered by determinate counsel and foreknowledge of Elohim. Determinate counsel. It was already decided. Okay? Ye have taken by wicked hands and have crucified him and slain him, whom Elohim hath raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be holden of it. He created everything. The way to tell is if a person, confesses that the Messiah has come from our Creator in the flesh. If they don't confess, that spirit is what? Of Antichrist. Has anybody here ever heard that, oh, he was a prophet, he was a great man? They do the same thing here. This man did not say anything about Messiah, but they downplay, constantly downplay. They weight the scriptures to try to sink it. But they're dealing with people who do believe. Now, the one gentleman on here, which was surprising to me, and I tend to believe that there are quite a few like this man, and I'll explain, and that he was doing the checking, and all of his life he knew about the Israelites. He knew the scriptures. He read the scriptures. He was raised in it. So he's talking to a gentleman. He has his PhD in archaeology. And they're digging over there near Sinai, or over there at the near the border of Egypt. And this archaeologist is, and this gentleman goes over and is talking to him because he's trying to get proof of the actual Israelites leaving Egypt. So this archaeologist, he asked this archaeologist, well, is there any proof that the Israelites were here? And the gentleman says, not so far. And this man whose parents raised him in the scriptures, he said, I almost lost my faith because of that. What is his faith hanging on? What's his faith? How deep is it? My point is, brethren, do we have ministers from the pulpit? Do we have priests? Do we have PhDs? We got BS and we got MS. And then we have PhD. We have the learned knowledge of men. What does our Creator say about man's knowledge? It's worthless. It's enmity. The carnal mind is against him. Now here we are, brethren, trying an example. Because this man had a PhD and he was digging in the dirt, he says, we haven't found it yet. The man almost lost his faith. He goes back 4 years later, 2 years later, and they dug down some more, and they found evidence of the Israelites there. So, and he confessed, he said, look, I almost lost my faith because of this. So if we're confronted, face to face, and the MS, BS, or BS, MS, and PhD, they can be on toe-to-toe, they can be very intimidating. And that's the whole idea. Intimidation, now what follows intimidation? Fear. Fear. And what counters fear? Perfect love for who? Our Creator. Cast out all the... Why? That's who was in us. That's who was in us. Now, that's who we are dealing with. That's a thumbnail sketch. I've got 6 quotes here. All right, 7. You can go through and you can read who we're dealing with. Now, all of us here understand what I'm saying about who we're dealing with. There are many out there that don't. But why do we understand? How is it that we understand? Let me see, go back 50 years. All right, 45 years. No, 50 years, yeah. Go back 50 years. And I was a rip snorter. I had some understanding. That's a ball and chain. This was a ball and chain. I'm not interested. I had one of my friends, I believe in the man upstairs, but I want to do it my way. But how is it that I came to understand Linda, Tom, Ellie, Marcia, and everyone here, Angelo, 30, 40 years. How do we get to understand? Elijah, he had the daylight scared out of him because a woman put out a contract on him. It was Jezebel. Elijah took out a lot of the prophets of Baal, and that really infuriated her. So she put a contract out on him. I'm going to take your head off, whatever. I'll burn you at the stake or whatever. Anyway, he takes off. He ends up, I think, at the base of Mount Sinai. Now, this is a thumbnail sketch. You can go back in and read it. And he heard this voice say, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Hey, look, I'm the only one left." Okay? It's called intimidation. Okay? The man was intimidated. He was a prophet of our Creator. He was intimidated. And what followed the intimidation? What motivated him? The fear. He wanted to go back where he was secure. I got to get back to where I'm secure. Our Creator said to him, "Look, get back out there." He said, "I have 7,000, okay, I have chosen for myself, called out, reserved for myself, 7,000, okay? He reserved them. He didn't invite them. He just put his spirit in them, reserved them, okay? That have not kissed the lips of Baal or bowed the knee. It's the same with us. We understand because he gave it to us. We have to remember that. We have to remember that. And why did he give it to us? He so loved the world, he gave his only son. That's why. Let's turn to Romans. Romans is one of my favorite books. I mean, the whole of Scripture is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But Romans, for me, fits in with the contemporary age that we live in. Romans chapter 1. All right, let's pick it up a little earlier. Let's pick it up in 16. Now, this is Paul speaking to the Romans. "I am not ashamed of the gospel of the Messiah, for it is the power of Elohim unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first and also to the Greek." He is not ashamed of the gospel. Okay? Keep that in mind. There are those that will try to talk you down. And if it ends up we're standing before officialdom somewhere, somehow. Okay? And anybody here ever been in a courtroom? I've been in a courtroom. I've been on the receiving end of the bench and the judge. And the judge, sitting on the bench, is elevated about 3 feet, maybe 4 feet above the subject down there. It's already pre-set up. What do you want? And it is intimidating. Paul says, "I'm not ashamed." All right, let's continue on. Let me see. "For therein is the..." hold on a second. I don't want to... Okay, read that. Verse 17. "And for therein is the righteousness of Elohim revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith." The just shall live by faith. There's a lot we don't understand. We look through this glass dimly. But why do we carry on? Because we believe what he says. Who else believed what he said? Even to running his own son through with a knife was Abraham. We are descendants of Abraham. We don't have to be bloodline of Abraham. We could be grafted into that vine and that the roots of that vine, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they feed the same spiritual nutrients to the natural branches as well as to the grafted in branches. For the wrath of Elohim is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. That word unrighteousness is also translated, they hold it back. They don't tell the whole truth. Because that which may be known of Elohim is manifest or shown to them. For Elohim hath showed it unto them. There are those that see it, they know it's the truth, they lie anyway for their own benefit. For the invisible, this is another thing, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and his Godhead, so that they are without excuse. The invisible things of him. He is invisible. We don't see him. From the creation of the world, okay, are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. Now, those things that are made could be us, okay? It could be the earth, could be the things that we can see, touch, feel, the tangible things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead. So, like what David said, I look at the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the creation. What in the world is man that you're even mindful of him? Things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because that when they knew Elohim, they knew, they glorified him not as Elohim, neither were they thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened, professing themselves to be wise. We are wall to wall with wisdom, quote, wisdom of this earth. But they became fools and changed the glory of uncorruptible Elohim into an image made like unto corruptible man, and to birds, four-footed beasts, creeping things. Wherefore Elohim also gave them up to uncleanliness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. What is this saying? They changed the glory of the uncorruptible Elohim into an image made like to corruptible man. What were they worshiping? Images cast out of brass, carved out of stone or wood. We hug the trees. We love the trees. We got to save the animals, but we have to destroy the babies because we got to reduce the population. They're made in the image and likeness of our Creator. But they gave up their wisdom to foolishness. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Wherefore Elohim also gave them up to uncleanliness. That's what happens. Our Creator shows you, you toss it over your shoulder, and then what happens? Nature itself abhors a vacuum. Much like when our Creator cast out the demons, or the parable. The man had a demon, he cast the demon out, dusted and cleaned everything up, but it was never replaced with anything. So what happens? The demon comes back in again. He brings, hey, Joe, Jack, all you creeps, come on, we got a clean place here. So the situation the second time was worse than the first. Wherefore he also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies, and changed the truth of the Elohim into a lie, and worshiped and served the creature. That could be us. We worship ourselves. That's the way mankind is. Without our Creator in our lives, this is what happens. Verse 25. Worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Now, let's turn to Romans. No. Let's turn to 1 Samuel. So you're getting an exercise in finding all these books. I had little cheat sheets here. My beautiful wife, she cut out little pieces of paper and put on there 1 Samuel 15, so I can flip right to it. Anyway, 1 Samuel chapter 15. I'm sorry, 1 Samuel. Yeah, what am I doing? I'll be okay, brethren. I didn't get enough sleep last night. 1 Samuel chapter 1. Well, let's see if I've got this right this time. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Yes, I was right the first time. 1 Samuel chapter 15. Now, a little background sketch on this is Saul. Saul was chosen by our Creator to lead Israel. He chose him to be the king. Although they rejected our Creator, Israelites, as being their king, they wanted a physical king. All right, so he gave them Saul. Our Creator gave Saul specific instructions on what to do. And he himself felt that he did it. And pick it up, verse 20. And Saul said unto Samuel, Yes, I have obeyed the voice of Yah, and have gone the way by which Yah sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of the Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. He was supposed to kill the king, everyone, everything, wipe it out. He had his reasons, probably because if they didn't do that, there was going to be spillover from their lifestyle into the Israelites, which was going to cause them a lot of trouble. Verse 21, But the people took of the spoil, the sheep, the oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice them unto our Creator. Now here's the wisdom of man. He's told to wipe it all out. The people, they took what was nice. This looks good, man. Look at the sheep. Look at this. Look at that. Let's take this. This is their excuse. This is their reasoning. Let's take this, and we can sacrifice this to our Creator. He said to destroy it. Oh, we can sacrifice it to Him. That which He dislikes, we're going to sacrifice it to Him. It should have been utterly destroyed. And Samuel said, Hath Yah as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of our Creator? Okay. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than to the fats of rams. To obey our Creator. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Obeying our Creator is a form of our love, demonstrating our love for Him. Verse 23, very important, because the mind of man is described in verse 23. For rebellion is as of the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness, stiff-neckedness. Scripture also calls it being stiff-necked. Stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yah, He has also rejected thee as from being a king. Okay. Rebellion, I ain't doing it. I'll do it my way. I'll do halfway through. That's what Saul did. It's like witchcraft. It has the same that feels the same to our Creator as witchcraft. Stubbornness. We see the truth. It's there. Paul was talking about it in Romans. Even though they knew our Creator, they chose not to give him the honor and glory. They're stubborn. It's like idolatry. So what's he do? Turns them over. To what? I'll let you folks take a look at that, and you can see what they were turned over to. Men lying with men, women lying with women, all kind of yes, and we are awash with it now. Now, all right, I'm going to Romans chapter 8. I want to pick up a few things. I'm going to skip a few verses around, but I like to pick up starting in verse 1. And the reason being is it gives us a bit of a background as to what is being talked about here, as opposed to taking a section out and then wondering what preceded it. Romans chapter 8, verse 1. There is therefore no condemnation to them which are in the Messiah, Yeshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. What does the book of John say? I and my Father will come and make our abode with you and in you. For the law of the Spirit of life in Messiah hath made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law, now he's talking, the word law here is used for both sin and death and what the law of our Creator gave. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. There was nothing wrong with the law of our Creator. It was weak in the flesh. The flesh could not do it. Elohim sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned the sin in the flesh. So the sin was condemned. It was a stumbling block, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So if you're not walking after the flesh, where's the law come in? You're keeping it. You're keeping it. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, for it is not subject to the law of Elohim, neither indeed can it be. We have to have his Spirit in us. He's the one, the Messiah said, no one can come to me except through the Father. Okay, no one can come to the Father except through me. But no one can come to me lest the Father call them. Because ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Messiah, he is not of his. And if Christ be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Messiah from the dead dwell in you, so that same Spirit of him that raised up Messiah from the dead dwells in you, and we know who that Spirit is. He that raised up Messiah from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwelleth in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if we live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the flesh, ye shall live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, they are the sons of Elohim. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, that word Abba, in a modern translation, is daddy. Same as a child would refer to their father, Papa, or Daddy. The Spirit itself beareth witness, and our spirit, that we are the children of Elohim, and if children, then heirs of Elohim, and joint heirs with Messiah. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. Therefore I reckon that the suffering of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. The glory that will be revealed in us. And we're talking about Numbers. Terry is talking about Numbers 7. And Paul refers to on that last trump. And how many trumps are there? 7. And that last trump is when it happens. Verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature, some scriptures say creation, waiteth. They're waiting for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. For the creature was made subject to vanity, or the creation made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who subjected it to that. The same in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of Elohim. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. Anybody feel that way? Yeah. But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Likewise, the Spirit also helps our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought. Here we are. This is another example of the love of our Creator. He gave his Son, cleaned us up, got rid of all the muck and everything, and then he gives us his Spirit. But then we still don't know how to pray right. Likewise, the Spirit also helps us with our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself within us makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searcheth the hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because he makes intercession for the saints according to the will of Elohim. So he gave his Son, wiped away the penalty that was against us, okay, took away our sins. We're now a new person, okay? I and my Father will come and make our abode in you, okay? As Mark, I think you were talking about it yesterday, that where I am, they can be also. That those who would hear about me through their teaching, the apostles, okay, he prayed for them. That's us. And we know all things work together for the good to them that love Elohim, to them who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate, to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among brethren. What do you think of verse 29? A lot of meat there. For whom he did foreknow. Much like that 7,000, I have reserved 7,000. He knew who they were. Much like our Redeemer from the foundations of the world. For who he did foreknow, he also predestined to be this conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn, our Redeemer, the firstborn among many. We are among the many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he then called, Them he also justified, and whom he justified, they also glorified. Paul goes on to say, and there's a lot in there, so you have to think about that and pray about that. And Paul says in verse 31, what shall we say then to these things? If Elohim be for us, who could be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of Elohim's elect? It is Elohim that justifieth. Who is he that condemneth? It is Messiah that died. Yea, rather, it is that it is risen, he is risen, who is even at the right hand of our Father, Elohim, who also maketh intercession for us. There we go again. Who shall separate us from the love of the Messiah? Shall tribulation, distress, persecution, famine, darkness, peril, the sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Amen.